in the general day-to-day life, how much perfectionism is actually required. So it's how can we strive for excellence in a way that doesn't have or take a negative toll on our well-being?
Welcome to the Economy Creators podcast and radio show on K-Fred Lifestyle Optimization Radio. I'm your host, Mary Farias. Economy Creators spotlights real stories of entrepreneurs and creators building their own personal economies around their unique interests, talents, and experiences. If you're an economy creator and would like to be on the show, I invite you to reach out and apply to be a guest. I love meeting and spotlighting economy creators. Welcome, everybody, to the Economy Creators Podcast. I am here today with my friend, Michele Molitor, and she is a master coach and clinical hypnotherapist. And she works with high-performing women who have lost touch with the deeper parts of themselves. And these parts are calling them to more meaning and depth in their lives. She has a program called Returning to Your Inner Wisdom, and she offers it as a personalized mentorship. And Michele, it's just so wonderful to have you here. And I have gotten to know you over the last few months through Women in Alignment and Hey Mackenzie's leadership. And I just want to welcome you and say thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's really delightful to be here with you, Mary, and to have gotten to know you this year in the way we have. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Well, to start, let's just chit chat a little bit about you. What is something about yourself and the personal economy that you're creating that you'd like to share with the audience?
Gosh, there's always something cooking, and um, the thing that's most present, it's a future economy that I'm creating. I've actually gone back to graduate school, and I'm working on getting my master's in marriage and family therapy. It's been a long time goal of mine. I've been coaching for 25 years, just about, and I've been doing hypnotherapy and mindfulness work over the last 10. And I guess in 2024, it was just one of those moments, the light bulb just went bing down into my consciousness. I was like, "Oh, it's time." Like, I just instantly knew it was time, and here I am. So, uh, it's very, very exciting. It will allow me to deepen the work that I get to do with, women and men and families, moving forward. So, that's most present of mind right now.
That's exciting. That's exciting. And so let me ask you this because on this show, economy creators create an economy around their personal interests and talents and experiences. And so intuition is certainly a part of that and listening to that intuition. So you are very intuitive now. Have you always been or is this something that has come throughout your life?
That's a great question. I've always been very sensitive, as my brother used to always call me, right? Um, when I became a coach, I realized, oh, I've always been an empath. I feel the emotions of other people literally. I feel them in my body. Um, and when I became a coach, it was this, oh, it's actually my superpower, right? And it's a muscle just like every other. It's something that can be built and tuned into and tapped into more and more regularly so that you you know that it's your intuition. It sounds differently than just that little voice in your head, right? It
Mhm.
has a different texture, a different quality to it. And it's probably one of the most valuable things that I've learned is to listen to my intuition. When my spidey senses kick up, and something says, "Mm-mm, no, this isn't right." It's like, "Okay, I'm listening, I'm paying attention," because otherwise it can be a very costly mistake. Whether
Yeah.
you're, dating somebody or buying something or stepping into a new business adventure with somebody, yeah, always trust your gut.
Right. Well, and intuition can work telling you not to do something, but it also can tell you, "Hey, look at this beautiful thing," kind of like what you're just describing with going back to school, right?
Yeah, yeah. When I, when I first discovered coaching, That was probably one of the first big moments where I call it like a lightning bolt moment. It it's like this just sudden shift, and it feels like all the cells in your body come into alignment, and it's just a knowing. It's a deep knowing, and it was one of my very first coaching sessions, and it hit me like, "Oh, this is the work I'm meant to do." I had a 10-year career as a graphic designer and creative director in high tech, building multimillion dollar websites until I got bullied out of that career, which was devastating. It created a massive case of imposter syndrome, and perfectionism went off the charts. And I discovered coaching to figure out, gosh, what do I do now? Because I was pretty much a deer in the headlights in that moment. And this moment struck me of, oh, this is my work. And there was no hesitation. Like, I was terrified to hand my resume to anybody in corporate America. My experience had been really, really bad, major corporate PTSD. But starting my own business, changing careers, getting trained in a new thing that wasn't even that old, it was only a few years old at that point, and starting my own business on my own, most people would be like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, "This feels much safer than corporate America." Right?
Yeah.
And so the second time that it happened is when I discovered this particular flavor of hypnotherapy that I got trained and certified in, and it was that same it hit me. I was like, "Oh, okay, this is the next level of mastery." It was like I felt like I was being guided or pulled by my higher self, my intuition of like, "No, this is the path you're on. This is the path you're on." And then again with going back to grad school, and now that I'm in grad school, I'm in my 2nd year of a 3-year program, um, it just it like, I get to sit down and read, like, 7 chapters this week on around, grief and loss and trauma, and I'm excited about that.
Not everybody says that, do they?
Right, I know, but I know that the more deeply I understand these facets of the work that I'm already doing, it gives me a a wider base to stand upon that allows me to be of greater service to other people, and that's what brings me joy.
Yeah. Oh, that's so wonderful that you're listening to that path that you're being led on because I mean, I'll just speak for myself. I have been trying to manhandle things throughout my entire life until I realized, oh, there is something. Yes, exactly. There's something telling me what to do and where to go and how to be and how to, what is the best path for me. And you're right, finding and listening to that voice, it's a real gift, isn't it?
It is, listening can be the hardest part, trusting it, stepping into it, because society has a lot of other things to say. Our families have a lot of other things to say. I mean, how many people do we all know? We can probably name off a half a dozen, like, "Oh, I know so and so that they really wanted to be a writer, but their parents wanted them to be a lawyer, or you should be a doctor, or you should be this," right? So they're
Mhm.
like, "Okay." And they go off and they do that until one day, somewhere in their 30s or 40s or 50s, they wake up and go, "What am I doing? What is this? Is this really what I wanna do? Is this really all there is?" And it doesn't matter if their life is beautiful with all the accoutrements, right, with all the trappings, there's still a missing in their heart, like, "Oh, my heart actually wanted me to do something else, but I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
I didn't follow it." But now they're at a place where they can go, "Hmm, maybe I should choose something different." And then they do. And so this can look 2 different ways. The first way is what you would typically consider a midlife crisis, right? "Oh, I'm gonna blow up my life because I'm not happy with this or something's missing, so I'm gonna go buy a new car or go find a new spouse or move to another country," right? It can look 1,000 different ways. But the problem with that is that whatever that missing was, it will follow you. It will go wherever you go because everywhere you go, there you are, right? As
Mhm.
John Kabat-Zinn says. Now, the other version of that is called a spiritual awakening. When you hit that wall of no, not that, but what? What now? And you just stop and you pause and you drop in and you listen. What's needed now? Uh, a friend and mentor, give me that question. Drop into a meditation and ask yourself what's needed now, and then let the words come. Your inner guidance will point you in the direction that you need to go, and it may feel uncomfortable, it may feel a little scary, but it will feel aligned. That's when you know you're going in the right direction, that it's aligned in your system, right? And so that's the place that I get to help women with is they're like, there's a big transition in their lives and things are blowing up or shifting in ways that feel really, really messy and uncomfortable. And they're like, what do I do? How do I manage this? How do I navigate this? So that's that's the joy of the work that I get to do is walk alongside people as they go through these places in their lives and give them the tools to help themselves ground and find more clarity and to remember that wisdom that's always guiding them.
Yes. And, inside of economy creators, I talk about leading yourself, leading your economy, and then leading others. And it's hard to lead others or even decide how you want to lead others in your economy if you're not on a strong structure yourself. And one of the things that I have gotten to know about you just by our conversations is that you always mention a mentor. You always have someone, it seems, guiding you just a little bit further along than you are, because I truly believe all great coaches have coaches. Talk a little bit about mentorship and what that means to you.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's so important, you know. Uh, One of the things I realized on my coaching journey is that I'm only ever a few steps ahead of the people that I'm working with, right? Because our our wounds, our gifts, our lessons are part of what attract others to working with us, right? Your greatest source of pain is often your greatest source of passion and purpose. And so the folks who come to me often are dealing with imposter syndrome, feeling like a fraud, not believing in themselves. Am I enough? I don't know. Am I lovable? Right? All these things. And those are all things that I was struggling with, challenged with. And so as you move through those things, then you have more wisdom to share with the people behind you. And so I'm always looking for a mentor, a coach, a guide who's a few steps ahead of me. And that can help me see the thing that's stuck on my end of my nose, or maybe pointing out where I might have fear blinders on that I have to take off, right? So having a coach, having a therapist, or both is always really helpful.
Yeah, and I would admonish anybody who's listening to interview a coach and ask them if they have a coach because or a mentor or somebody who's a little bit above them in their journey because you're right. I was in gymnastics for a long, 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 long time, and there were so many coaches who just thought they knew it all, and they grew stagnant, and all of their kids grew stagnant. And it's the same in personal growth and development, don't you think? I mean, we're all evolving all the time, and that evolution needs to continue. And I think if we don't have a mentor or a coach, we're at that risk.
Absolutely. Well, we can get caught in our own bubble, right? Especially now that so many of us work remotely, right? I live in my happy little bubble of sunshine, right? It's all very nice and well and good here, except I can't see the things that I can't see because of my own blind spots. So having someone outside of you who's, you know, m- smarter, more experienced, wiser in different ways can help us see the things that we can't see. right? I don't remember who said it, but, you're the you're the sum total of the 5 people closest to you. So, make sure that you're standing in a room where the people around you are smarter than you, because it gives you inspiration to pull you forward, to lift you up, to up level your thinking, your behaviors, your activities, your goals, etcetera.
Yeah. I love masterminding as well. I have quite a few mastermind groups that I'm a part of, and one of the things that I love about one of my mastermind groups is that we're all in different businesses, but we're all sharing our experiences, and what that does is open up our minds too to trying different things inside of the typical, the coaching business or the consulting business or the publishing business. There, if someone from interior design comes in and says something about what they're doing and you go, "Oh, how could I use that kind of concept inside of this business or to help my client?" Or, I think that that's very valuable as well. What do you think?
Oh, I completely agree. So much so that I've partnered with my colleagues Matthew Cahill and Ashok Bhattacharya. We have created the Trusted Advisory Group International, which is a peer to peer advisory group for business owners, business professionals, founders who have created successful businesses and they are ready to up level. And having that outside unbiased perspective is super, super valuable. So we meet once a month virtually. And then October 13th through the 16th, we're coming together in person in Cizone, Italy for
Ooh.
3.5 days of a leadership retreat to look back on what we've accomplished this year, look forward to what we want to accomplish in the next year, and take some time for our own personal development as well. So it's gonna be really beautiful and exciting, full of great food and lots of prosecco.
Yeah, sounds fabulous. Fabulous. That's so great. So you mentioned earlier imposter syndrome, and I, in personal growth and development as a coach, and with authors as well, a lot of people run into this. Who am I? Why should anybody listen to me? For me, I was just a gymnast or a gymnastics coach forever, and I had to completely shift my self-image into successful at gymnastics to successful, period. Right? And I had to be able to shift that, but it sounds like you had to unlearn that whole process too. So tell us a little bit about how you encountered imposter syndrome and how you brought yourself through it and how you help your clients through theirs.
Yeah, I had the joy of growing up in a lovely family. My parents have been married for 67 years and have been business partners for 99% of that. Have had successful businesses. My brother and sister both worked in the businesses. And I took a left turn. I'm like, "No, thank you. I'm going to France. I'm gonna be an au pair for a bit. Bye." When I graduated, they're like, "Uh, oh, okay." Um, but growing up in that environment, in hindsight, I can see, there was a lot of judgment. There was a lot of perfectionism. There was a lot of how to get it right. And so when I went through the experiences that I did in high tech, as a graphic designer, there's a certain precision to what you do. And so my perfection is deeply embedded. When I got bullied out of my high tech job, the imposter syndrome went off the charts of who am I? Who's going to listen to me now? I don't have all the answers. I literally had the the gentleman that I hired who had his PhD fresh out of Stanford literally get up in my face and tell me one day I can't work for someone who's not smarter than me. So this created a whole thing of, well, maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I don't know. I don't have all the answers. What am I going to do? Right. And so I felt like I had this big thing on my forehead that said, I'm a fraud, but don't tell anybody. Because if I find out, then I'm gonna I'm gonna get in trouble. Right. And so all of that created this emotional residue in my nervous system that had me constantly, like, looking over my shoulder, "Am I doing it right? Am I okay? Am I good enough? Am I good enough? Am I good enough?" And it wasn't until I came to coaching that I realized, "Oh, that's a pattern of thought that's stuck in my nervous system, and I can change a pattern of thought. I can literally rewire my neural pathways with new thoughts and beliefs." That's where the hypnotherapy comes in, why I was so enthralled by it, because it helped me shift my own belief structures and rewire my own neural pathways. So it's such a powerful way for folks to recognize, okay, this happened to me in the past. Like over here on this other screen, there's a movie playing called My Life, and these things happened to me, and it created these belief structures. But I'm here now as this adult, not that little kid. I'm not that teenager. I'm not that 20 something. And I can change my mind about who I see myself to be and how I move through the world. And it's a process that I take clients through, that works both with their mindset, but also with their nervous system.
Yeah.
Because you can change it from here up, but if your body is not on board, you're going to keep doing the same things because it's working from its own cellular memory. So it's super exciting to be able to watch people go from, "I'm not good enough. I don't believe in myself. I'm not worthy," to, "Of course I'm good enough. Of course I'm worthy. And why did I ever think that to begin with?"
Yeah. So powerful because so many people are walking through their lives feeling that disconnect and that anxiety in their systems that they just think that this is what it is, right? And they just have
Right.
to deal with it.
Right.
Or they go where you were for a while. I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. I have to get this, I have to get that and seek something on the outside to assuage them, right? Instead of really doing what you're saying is fix it from the inside out.
Yeah, well, that's honestly, that's the only way to fix it is from the inside out because your brain likes what's familiar. Even if familiar is bad or wrong or toxic, doesn't feel good, but it's just what you know. That's why people who have grown up in abusive households often end up in relationships that are abusive because it's what's familiar to them. And so the only way to break free of that old wiring, it's like synaptic connections, they grow stronger the more you think a thought. So if you keep thinking thought, "I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough," those synaptic connections get stronger and stronger. But if you start telling yourself a different story, "I am good enough, I do believe in myself," those old synaptic connections fall apart and you build new ones. It's like paving over the old road with a new pathway, right? And that creates that stronger sense of confidence from the inside out, which is palpable at an energetic level for people.
Yeah, it is, and when we feel differently, we act differently. We show up
Mm.
differently, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Let's step away from the interview for just a minute. I love what Michelle is speaking about here, that change must occur from the inside out. It can never be sustainable from the outside in. This is something that may be simple for people to understand, but it is difficult to execute for 97% of people. And this is why most people get stuck in the same patterns and experiences throughout their lives. Economy Creators is built on the framework of leading yourself first. Then you can begin building a sustainable economy around and on top of that. And then you can focus on leading others in a meaningful and influential way. So, what does leading yourself look like? It begins by knowing what you want, not what others want for you. It involves creating a self image around that desire, what I call version 2.0. Who do you need to be in order to do the things you need to do in order to have the things you want? It requires building and holding a bulletproof attitude that you will maintain in the face of all circumstances, positive and negative alike. and it requires you to take control of and remain in control of your mind. I teach my clients these skills with an array of tools, trainings, and masterminds to help them. As Michelle says, it takes the help of someone who has been there, a mentor, a coach, or a leader, to guide people on their path to version 2.0. Like I said, it's simple, but it may not be easy. That's why surrounding yourself with a leader, plus others who are on the same trajectory, is so valuable in the growth process. If you want more in your life but don't know how to get there, if you'd like to see what help is out there so you can make that shift, please reach out to someone like Michelle or myself. We're here to help. Now let's return to the interview. That transformation must be amazing. I know when I have clients who finally go, "Aha!" and they get it and they understand who and what they are. It's that's the
It
beauty of it, isn't it?
it is. For me, that's the raison d'être. That is the juice, that is the joy that gets me out of bed. And I had a client many years ago, very dry sense of humor. He'd been in the insurance industry for 30 years. He was very expert at what he did. But he he started spinning and not sleeping at night and procrastinating and avoiding. And we had we had just completed our second hypnotherapy session. And I always ask folks when they come out of this very relaxed alpha brainwave state, that half awake, half asleep state, right? We've had a conversation in this deeper place. And I asked him, "So, how was that for you today? Was there something that surprised you?" And he smiled. He's like, "Yeah, that it always comes back to my mother." I was like, "Oftentimes it does. Yes, not always. And not that mothers are bad and wrong. They're wonderful things. And pl- for all the mothers out there, please hear this, that we all are doing the very best that we know how to do in the moment that we're doing it. And when you know better, you do better. Right.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah. So it's that moment of, oh, that's who I am, not that belief that I adopted because so and so told me so. Parent, teacher, sibling, random stranger, right? We take on those,
The internet.
right? The internet, exactly. Um, and so when we can recognize that inherently we are all valued and worthy and deserving of love, of dignity, of respect, and we all seek it. And if we don't find it within ourselves, we're always doing it out here. Are you going to give me love? Are you going to give me love? Are you going to value me? Are you going to value me? Because if I don't recognize it in myself, we have to find it out there somewhere. So that's why people fall into these behaviors of perfectionism and overgiving and people pleasing because they're trying to grasp that validation from others instead of looking for it and invalidating themselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you're 100% spot on. When I worked with children in gymnastics, I would our gym, my husband used to call it the Bad News Bears gym because it was like their last ditch effort before they quit, because the coaches that they had before said things, did things just it wasn't the healthiest. But, when I received them and brought them into my care, I would kind of dig in a little bit to where did that come from, Well, my coach told me that I would never tumble this way, or I was terrible at this, or I could never do a bar routine, or whatever it was, and they adolescents glommed onto that. They truly, in that formative stage of their life, just believed that, and yeah, and it was someone that they looked up to.
Uh-huh, something of
Told them.
importance in their
Yeah.
lives that they respected. Our you see, our brains aren't fully formed until we're, like, 25 years old. So, in those formative years up until about at least age 10, our brain's just like a big sponge. It just absorbs the stuff that's in our universe, in our environment. So, imagine being in a fishbowl and you're a happy little fish, you're swimming around in your fishbowl, you don't realize if the water is brown or murky because that's the only experience that you've ever had until someone comes and changes the water and you're like, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to look like. Got it." Right? So I love that you're able to do that with the kids that you were coaching. Like, "No, no, honey. You are amazing. You can do anything you put your mind to, and let's get to it, shall we?" You
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah. And, adults, the longer they and you were talking about the connections, the synapses that, the neural pathways that we all create them by repetitive thought over and over and over again. And so just imagine when we absorb those things when we're children, but continue that self-talk
Yeah.
into adulthood and through, like you were talking about earlier, well, you need to become an attorney because this is what we do in our family, and by the time they're 45, they're like, "Ah."
I really hate the law. Why the hell am I doing this? Oh, right, because got it. Yeah, and then they take a hard left and do something different. Yeah, it's always fascinating to me, those aha moments, because there's on 2 sides of it, right? There's the aha moment of, "What have I done?" or "Why am I here doing this thing in this place with these people?" Or some version of that, married to this person or whatever, whatever. Um, but then the flip side of that is, "Oh, that's who I am.
Mhm.
That's my real essence. That's the one in me that I wanna move into the world with more fully." Right.
And you know what's so wonderful about that is that that's always within us. It's always there trying to guide us, and it's
Yes.
it's speaking as loud as we're willing to listen, right? And it's there for each one of us. It's not like it's there for you, Michelle, and not anybody else.
Yeah.
It's for all of us. And I love helping people realize that, don't you?
Oh gosh, it is it is the juice and the joy for sure, like, um, helping folks reclaim their power after they've found themselves in an abusive relationship. I had a client that I worked with for many years, off and on, and she was in a 15-year, relationship with someone who was a narcissist, and it left a lot of scarring on her psyche and her belief in herself and her self-worth, and it was the first completion that we came to. We've had other times of working together since then, but the first completion she came to, and I'll never forget it, it was like a light bulb went off, and she said, "Wow, that was abuse, wasn't it?" I said, "Yes, honey, it was." And it was like the veils finally came off,
Mm.
and within 6 months of that, she finally birthed her music album out into the world. Like, she'd been sitting on it for 2 plus years, and she finally, like, released it out into the world, and she wrote, like, 2 children's books, and it was just like all of this joy and creativity started pouring out of her because she was finally able to remove the veil of the thoughts and beliefs that someone else had put on her to make her feel small and to be obedient, for lack of a better word.
Mhm. Ah, good for you. I love that. And it's powerful for people to hear that they're powerful, and that's really what I love about the work that you do and the work that I get to do. It's so wonderful. And the thing is that we're all different, as mentors and coaches and teachers, we all do it in different ways. So the reason is because we're all unique. So, what are some of the unique assets that you just have innately that you can use and to help your clients in a deeper way? You mentioned empathy, but what other experiences and talents and interests have really focused you in the work that you're doing?
Sure. Well, my journey was born out of my confidence being crushed, destroyed, scattered, splattered, smattered all over the floor. Um, and it became this quest to figure out, well, why are some people confident and other people aren't? My brother, I love him dearly. He's insanely confident. He always has been, but I never was. I'm like, we grew up in the same household with the same parents with very similar experiences. How does this work, right? So I've become a learning junkie over the years, and I have thousands of books all around these topics. And so at each turn, I've delved more deeply into my own self. Like, what are the driving behaviors underneath that? And then underneath that, and then underneath that, right? Um, and every time you pull off a layer, like, oh, yay, there I am. And then a colleague of mine said to me once, she's like, new level, new devil, Michelle. I was like, oh, you're right. God dang it. Right? Just when you think you're like, "Hey, I'm all that in a bag of chips." Oh, wait, no, wait, there's a little thing that I gotta work on, right? And so we're never done, right? Um, and so that's why it is so beneficial to always have a coach or a therapist or a mentor to work with you to help you see that next layer that needs some attention, right? Um, my experiences helped me realize how much of a perfectionist I was. Like, I like to think of myself as a recovering perfectionist now, which is why, I co-authored this book with my friend Tom Collins, "I'm Perfectly Flawsome: How Embracing Imperfection Makes Us Better," and it's all about how do we overcome toxic perfectionism. And you'll love this. It actually the whole book was inspired by a quote that Tom read, this was several years ago, by Ali Reisman,
Oh.
the world famous Olympic gymnast. It says, "I think imperfection is beauty." And we in the book, we start off talking about how her need for perfection was such a driver for her as it is, I would imagine, for all gymnasts, right? Especially at that super high competitive level. And but at what point does it not serve us? At what point is 90% enough or 95% enough? Of course, there are fields and arenas where it is, precision is required, like for rocket ships and surgery. Right. So important things, but in the general day-to-day life, how much perfectionism is actually required. So it's how can we strive for excellence in a way that doesn't have or take a negative toll on our well-being. So that is another fun tool that I utilize with clients is just helping them do that self-reflection to see how can they best use the gifts that they have and where can they ask for help and support around the places that aren't as well honed, shall we say.
Yeah, there is a fine line between perfectionism and excellence. And a good coach will definitely recognize that, right? Because it's so important to bring a client to this point where they up their standards for the people they like you mentioned, the people that they're with on a daily basis, the situations that they allow themselves to accept, the treatment that they allow themselves to accept, right? There's so
Yeah.
many different ways to exude um, excellence in their life and upgrade their standards. But you're right. Where is it crossed into perfectionism?
Yeah.
You know? And what do you how do you decipher that? Is it again that really feeling of anxiety again inside the nervous system that kind of tells you? Is that what you have found?
Yeah, it's noticing where it is it coming from a place of, I wanna do really good work versus I'm being obsessive about it, right? Um, and is if it's crossed over that line into a place of maladaptive perfectionism that's driving the behaviors that's causing you to spend hours and hours more just to make that one slight adjustment. And how is that impacting your body? How is that impacting your relationships, your thinking? So it's a very holistic approach of noticing, is it working for me to really push myself to that nth degree, or is it okay if I take 2 steps back?
Mhm. So what over your 25 years of coaching now, what has been the highlight of your experience? Because you've done different things, hypnotherapy and you've done, the book and you've done all sorts of things to help your clients. And now you're venturing back into school and getting your your master's degree. So what really has been the highlight so far for you?
Well, the first thing that pops to mind, there have been many, many highlights, some of the stories I've shared with you, um, but this one popped to mind, and this was actually early in my coaching career. I was working with a small team of coaches from the Coaches Training Institute where I studied, and, I live here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we would go weekly to San Quentin Prison and work with a group of inmates, teaching them coaching skills. And I'll never forget what, Laura Whitworth, one of the founders of CTI, said to us. She said, "You have to remember, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know that they are enough because they were never told that they are enough." And to watch these men who had lived, some of them very hard lives, transform before our eyes was amazing. We called him Big David. He was this very formidable Latino man covered in tattoos. He was quite scary looking. I'm completely honest. When I first met him, I'm like, okay, he's kind of scary looking. I can understand why people would steer clear of him. And over the 2.5 years that we worked with this group of men, he became the quiet, gentle giant that ended up becoming, they call the mayor of the yard, that the men would come to, the correction officers would come to mediate the disputes that would happen, right? And to watch his presence soften but expand in a good way because he finally could see himself through our eyes of, you're this amazing human being with all these talents. They're just waiting for you to allow them to come out, right? So things like that, it's just beautiful. I had one client who came to me. She'd been dealing with chronic IBS, inflammatory bowel syndrome, for over 15 years. Severe perfectionism, severe people pleasing, um, imposter syndrome. And in doing the work together, we realized that the root cause of it was, even though she was the star basketball player in high school, her father was the coach, and he would berate her and her performance on the way home after every game. How could you? Why didn't you? This, that, and the other thing. And so that translated into her 15-year-old brain as, I must be perfect in order to be loved. And this is very common, right? And that then physically manifested in her body as IBS because our gut is our emotional brain of our body. And so once we untangled all this and pulled it apart and started rewiring her brain, her neural synapses, her IBS stopped. It healed, it went away.
Mm.
And so the power of the mind and the body together is profound, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for the abilities we have to heal ourselves if we just know the right things to do.
Absolutely. Oh, I am such a firm believer in all of that. I know that during COVID and we had the gym and it was shutting down and all of the we couldn't do what we wanted to do and I had terrible, terrible eczema because I was so angry during that time. I was very it's like the only time in my entire life that I've been so angry. But once I found, Bob Proctor and all of this material that I teach and study every single day, and once I did and I started applying it, gone. It's amazing what your body does. It tells us exactly, it doesn't tell us exactly what's going on, but it tells us that there's something going on.
Right?
Right.
Right? It'll be like, "Excuse me. Hello? Hello? Hello?" And it will get louder and louder and louder until you make a shift. I had a different experience. Um, I I went through the experiences that I did, had a lot of emotional stuff that I never processed. I just like, "I'm just gonna put this in the little box, put it over in the corner, and close it, and put the very back of the closet," right? Until one day, on Thanksgiving Day, about 15 years ago, I literally rolled out of bed and my back locked up. Now, we notoriously have bad backs in our family. And I'm like, "No, I'm doing yoga. I'm going to the gym. My back's fine." Except when it wasn't. And so I go to the doctor. "You have bulging discs at L4, L5." I'm like, "Okay." And so they gave me shots of cortisone to my spine. My back laughed. The pain never went away. I was on Vicodin and Norco every single day. I could sit, but I couldn't stand and I couldn't lie flat. It was pretty painful, to say the least. And then sadly, I had a very dear friend pass away unexpectedly at 45. And we had a really close group of girlfriends. We put together this beautiful ceremony of life for her. It was like 300 people there, and it was all I could do but to sit and sob the whole time. And it was like because of Stacy's death, I had permission to cry
Mm.
and cry and cry and cry. And it was a release valve for all the other stuff that had been stuffed in the dark corners of my psyche. And shortly after that, I went to an osteopath, which for anybody, I still don't know how to describe it other than it felt like these very light touch on my spine. But in my mind, the combination of what Dr. Logan did for me and the emotional release that I had at Stacy's funeral, my back pain went away like 2 days later,
Wow.
never to return. Suddenly, the bulging discs were not bulging anymore. I went off all painkillers. I was like, "Huh, isn't that really fascinating?" And it was such an eye-opening experience for me to recognize how powerful our bodies hold on to that unprocessed emotion. So that's a big part of what I do with my clients is helping them identify those stuck pockets and packages and emotional junk in their trunk, as I like to call it. They've been carrying around that they probably forgot about. And release it, let it go, leave it on the side of the road for the garbage man to come take away. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think what sounds so powerful with what you're saying is that you went through that too,
Yeah.
you know, and that brings up such an element of trust with you and your clients that you can I know I didn't just read this in a book. I can actually explain. I understand what you're going through. I may not have experienced exactly what you have gone through. I mean, none of us can,
Right.
but I do know that I have felt this, and I do know what it did to me, and I do know how to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is super powerful. So for folks who are looking for a coach or even a therapist, Ask questions. Tell me about your life. What have you been through that brought you to this moment of doing what you're doing as a coach? Why should I hire you? Right? Because I'm not the right coach for everybody. You're not the right coach for everybody.
Right.
But I am the right coach for the people who were drawn to my energy, to my story, to the experience that I bring to the table. Um, and, there's a lot of people out there. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, where can people get to connect with you and learn more about you?
sure. So you can always find me at michelemolitor.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I go by Rapid Rewire. That's the name of my work. Um, It's this, combination of coaching and science and somatics and mindfulness all kind of rolled up into one. But yeah, you can find me in all the places. You can find my book on Amazon, on Kindle, even on Audible. I went into the studio and recorded it, which was super fun. And yeah, I'm always giving talks as well. So.
Wonderful. So, as we wind up, I could talk to you for hours, Michelle. But as we wind up today, is there anything that you would like to impart on our audience that you haven't really covered, or just a reminder that you'd like to leave everybody with?
Um, I think probably one of the most valuable things that I was reminded of is that you are enough, just as you are and just as you aren't. And even as I say that, I tear up a little bit because it took me a long time to recognize that and to really embody it. And so, for everyone who's listening who doesn't feel like they are enough, please know that you are and just keep telling yourself that. And that repetition will drop it into your cells a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until one day you're like, "Oh, yeah, here I am." And then things shift. It's amazing.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Michelle, so much. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, this was so much fun, Mary. Thank you so much for your time and the good work that you do in the world for so many.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. Are you an economy creator? Join me for my free Economy Creators Workshop the first week of every month. And if you're interested in being on the Economy Creators podcast and radio show here on KFred Lifestyle Optimization Radio, please reach out and apply. I can't wait to meet you.